Mental Health Care Bill of 2013. In August 2016, Rajya Sabha passed the Mental Health Care Bill of 2013. This bill repeals the Mental Health Act of 1987. The bill deals with the rights of persons with mental illness. In this, every person shall have the right to access mental health care and treatment from services run or funded by the government. The right to access mental health care is an important aspect, and it includes affordable, good quality and easy access to services. Persons with mental illness also have the right to equality of treatment, protection from inhuman and degrading treatment, free legal services, and access to their medical records, and also complain regarding the deficiencies in the provision of mental health care. So this bill is basically based on the United Nations Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities that was ratified in 2007. This convention required the laws of the country to align with the convention and its decisions and the resolutions. So therefore, Mental Health Care Bill of 2013 in a way makes up for the lacunas that was existing in the earlier Mental Health Act of 1987, which was considered as an outdated act. Now let us see the key features of this bill in little more detail. Around 6 to 7% of the country's population suffers from some kind of a mental health illness in India. That is a rough estimate, and while 1 to 2% suffer from still acute mental diseases. This bill is termed as a patient-centric bill. In this, every person shall have the right to access mental health care, and the Mental Health Review Commission has been established as a quasi judicial body. And most important, in this proposed bill, the suicide is decriminalized. Earlier, the person who was committing a suicide was subjected to criminal proceedings, and in this bill, the Suicide Act itself has been decriminalized, thus protecting the person who attempted suicide. The bill also brings all the general hospitality psychiatry units within the ambit of definition of mental health establishment. Further, most importantly, it prohibits Electro convulsive therapy, which is considered as very abrasive and very invasive and not safe from a medical point of view. Now, the other important aspects of the bill are: 1. There is an advance directive. In this, a mentally ill person shall have the right to make an advance directive that states how he wants to be treated for the illness during the mental health situation and who his nominated representative shall be. The advance directive has to be certified, however, by a medical practitioner or a registered practitioner with the mental health board. If a mental health professional or a relative or a caregiver does not wish to follow the directive while treating the person, he has to make an application to the mental health board to review or alter or even cancel the advance directive. The proposed mental health care bill also envisages the central and state mental health authorities. These are administrative bodies that are required to register, supervise and maintain a register of mental health establishments. Further, they are also required to develop quality and service provision norms for such establishments. Third, they are also supposed to maintain a register mental health professionals, and these authorities also are required to train law enforcement officials and mental health professionals on the provisions of the Act. Lastly, these authorities also receive complaints about deficiencies in provision of services and advise the government on matters relating to mental health. The mental health establishment has to be registered, as said earlier, with the relevant central or state mental health authorities. In order to be registered, the establishment has to fulfill various criteria that are prescribed in the bill. The bill also specifies a process and the procedure to be followed for admission, treatment and discharge of mentally ill individuals. Now, as regards a decision to be admitted by a person into the mental health establishment shall, as far as possible, be made by the person with the mental illness. Of course, except when he is unable to make an independent decision or conditions exist to make this supported admission unavoidable. In this mental health care bill, there is this Mental Health Review Commission and the board, which plays an important role. The Mental Health Review Commission is a quasi-judicial body, and it will periodically review the use of and the procedures for making advance directives, and it will also advise the government on protection of rights of mentally ill persons. The Commission also has the power, that is with the concurrence of the state government, to constitute a mental health review boards in the districts of the state, and this board will have a power to register, review or alter or cancel an advance directive. Number 2, it also has a power to appoint a nominated representative. And third, it will also adjudicate complaints regarding the deficiency in care and services. And number 4, it has a power to receive and decide application from a person with mental illness or his nominated representative or any other interested person against the decision of a medical officer or a psychiatrist in charge of the mental health establishment. In this mental health care bill, 2 aspects stand out, that is, the decriminalizing the suicide and also prohibiting electro convulsive therapy. In this, a person who attempts a suicide shall be presumed to be suffering from a mental illness at that time, and he will not be punished under the Indian Penal Code. Similarly, electroconvulsive therapy can only be allowed under this bill only with the use of muscle relaxants and anesthesia. This therapy is prohibited for minors. To summarize and conclude about the mental health care bill, the bill is a historic and it is considered as a progressive bill. It has been a result of a long-standing effort. It is patient-centric and it focuses on how more facilities and support could be provided to the patients. As said earlier, around 6 to 7% of the country's population in India suffer from some kind of a mental illness, and about 1 to 2% suffer from an acute mental diseases. Therefore, it is a matter of concern that barely one psychiatrist presently is available for every 4 lakh population, and barely 1% of health budget has been allotted for mental health in India. And this is in sharp contrast with other countries where as much as 18% of the budget has been allocated for it. Therefore, it can be understood that situation is so grim that 3% in every 100 persons in urban areas suffer from depression, and 1 in every 3 has been neurotic, as per the studies made. Therefore, as per the estimates, India would have as much as 3.8 crores people with a mental illness by 2025. Therefore, in this context, the bill has provided many positive features. The bill ensures the right of every person to access affordable and good quality mental health services, and it is funded by the government. All patients have the right to equality of treatment in this. There is a protection from inhuman and degrading treatment. There are free legal services, and there is also right to access their medical records and right to complain regarding the deficiencies in the provisions of the mental health care. The government is mandated to establish a good quality mental health services at all levels so as to ensure everyone will have access to mental health care services. As said earlier, decriminalizing suicide has been the most welcome feature of the bill. However, there have been some concerns that have been expressed regarding the many provisions of the bill, and that would have a sort of a negative impact in the psychiatric treatment. For example, the bill aims at bringing a general hospital psychiatry unit within the ambit of a definition of mental health establishment. The bill has scrapped this exemption clause, and all the general hospital psychiatric units, even those established or maintained by the government, are therefore required to get registered as a mental health establishment. Now, this aspect has been criticized as being negative. It is because a welcome step would have been otherwise to broaden the ambit of this exemption, whereas this is restricting the exemptions. And this exemption could be applied to general hospital psychiatry units as well, and it should have included those established or maintained by the private agencies also. Another criticism or another drawback that has been pointed out is regarding the electro-convulsive therapy. This therapy is supposed to be a very useful method of treatment in many acute and chronic psychotic conditions, and many of them occur for the first time during childhood and adolescence also. But unmodified electroconvulsive therapy has been prohibited in this bill. Such a ban would stop the electroconvulsive therapy being administered at small and remote places where the aesthetic support is not available even for a routine surgery. Therefore, this is a severe restriction that has been placed on the use of electroconvulsive therapy. Many doctors say that this electroconvulsive therapy in minors with the prior approval of the Mental Health Review Board should have been provided in the bill itself.